guys, we're back here with the sixth episode of Jewish Agnostics. Here we have Rabbi Zalman at Albert Einstein Medical School University. He is the club advisor of the Chabad Club. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a nice guy, I think.
So far.
Yeah, no, I was very lucky to be raised in a Chabad school, very close to Crown Heights, where Lubavitch Rabbi just spent so much time with teaching and also giving guidance as far as being involved in the community. So very early on, got a chance to really be involved in the community and have meaningful conversations with people and be able to hear all kinds of questions and stuff. And it really led directly to being able to be here for the students and, all kinds of stuff that people are going through. I mean, medical students get face-to-face with people that have tough questions. They themselves have very tough questions. And so I thank God I've been able to help out a little bit, but I think I've grown much more than I've helped anyone else grow in my time here. I have to say thank God. When I was really young, part of my upbringing was really appreciate that life is here to be for others, including family. And I have to say, even though you're not going to necessarily see them here in the background, but it would be remiss if I did not include, you see some little pictures there, a little on top there. That I think the highlight of my life is the fact that, thank God, I am lucky to be the dad of a bunch of adorable and incredible girls and boys. So.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting. I think, in fact, you're the first rabbi to, really be intertwined with the college and much more, a medical college where, you have these huge concepts and pillars such as medicine and religion, which I think really leads us to the first question that we'd like to ask. So, as a rabbi representing the School of Medicine and Secular Studies, how do you view science's relationship and/or clash, with religion?
So that's an amazing question. But if we could just take a step back for a second, I feel like it'd be nice. I want to just give a couple introductions so that when we're talking, kind of, it would be more of a we'll be on the same page, so to speak, because we are coming from somewhat different angles. So first of all, I want to say a blessing. I have some coffee right now. So Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shachar li'amari and l'chaim. And then also, just by way of introduction, so I did send a little charity box, and Stephen, if you have it there. I'm not going to make any suggestions, but if you decide you want to begin your classes from now on this way, I was lucky, like I said, to spend time with the Lubavitch Rabbi, and every week the Rabbi would spend, hours meeting thousands of people, and with every interaction, the Rabbi would give $1 to give to charity. And I think the Rabbi may have mentioned this. I don't remember the source, but my understanding was that whenever people are involved in anything, so let's say we're interacting philosophically, theologically, inspirationally, whatever we're doing, because God created a physical world, we should always make sure, pay attention to the fact that our discussion doesn't stay in speech or thought or whatever, but we actually have a tangible change and we help somebody. Somebody makes and $1 is a tangible amount, actually any coin. So if you have so I'm going to ask both of you guys, if you have $1 bill, and actually anybody in the audience, the pushka that I sent you, the charity box I sent you, doesn't have any name on it. Pick any charity, although I am going to make a plug for anybody that's on a campus. If you have a Chabad house there and you want to put that aside, and then when you get $10 or whatever it is, you Venmo the rabbi and you take back the cash and start all over again. But write whatever it is. If you have a needy person in the neighborhood, just put that there, and then we'll start off by giving $1 to help. And so this is going to be for the students at Albert Einstein Medical College of Medicine. There'll be one less hungry student. Number one. Now, I did send a second $1 bill. Now, if you guys have a second, we're going to put that one aside, and this is a challenge, okay? So here, you're going to be asking a bunch of questions. I'm going to do my best to answer them. Here's the challenge, okay? I'm not going to try to prove anything, and I don't expect to change anybody. But we just gave $1 to charity. Imagine you clean your room, and you put everything in the right places. You've probably never done that before, right? Except for that's a fake background, correct? But and everything looks great, right? And you feel so good about yourself. Now compare that to a person visiting their grandma in the hospital. Tough, emotional, and you walk in, and it's a mess. There's like a big old garbage and like used food wrappers and stuff on the table right in front of her and everything. And you feel like, oh my goodness, grandma's so stressed. Okay, so you clean up the table, and you find like a little picture of her grandchildren, obviously yourself, right? And you put that on the leg so she can see it. plug in her cell phone charger, right? And everything looks clean. She feels better. Everything's organized. She sees her family. You did the exact same thing you did before, but it's very different because this time you made her feel at home. You made her feel healthy, comfortable, right? So my goal is like this. At the end of this session, let's give the other dollar, okay? If I do this right, when we give that dollar, we're not going to feel that, oh, I did something good, or I made the world organized. You're going to feel like there's a creator that created the world and is stressed by the chaos in the world, created chaos with the potential for us to clean it up. And when we give that dollar, if we feel that we're doing something that's meaningful and that the creator makes the creator happy, comfortable, healthy, more at home, then we're succeeded. Okay, so we'll put that dollar aside. And now, your question was, I'm a rabbi at a medical school and really high level of science, and people that really are living it and they're studying it. And then at the same time, I'm here as a religious rabbi, and the entire background of that is the fact that the Torah's message is that there's a creator and that there's God's, all the right and wrong of the Torah. So do I see a clash? So I will be honest with you. I feel that the possibility of a clash is coming from a misunderstanding of what the conversation is about. Imagine two people walk into a workshop, right? You're walking into the workshop, you know that your grandpa, your dad, your brother ordered a very specific, thing to be made. The master craftsman's walking in, and you're here to say, I'm going to describe what needs to be made now. He's like, I don't know you. You didn't make the order. I don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, no, I know. My brother couldn't make it, but I have the message. I know what's supposed to be. He's like, listen. And you're like, well, it's supposed to be a desk with a clock. And he's like, I'm looking at the material here, and it's not a desk, it's not a clock, it's not nothing. He's the expert. He starts looking and measuring analyzing every little thing. And now his expertise is true. He really is very good at his job, but he doesn't know what you know. You have the exact picture of what's supposed to be, but you don't know the material. You're both describing the exact same thing from a different angle. And what's going to happen is that the better that you get at articulating what it is you're supposed to describe, and the more closer he gets to seeing the full picture, you'll start getting better, closer and closer. And the same thing also, science, when it's humbly approaching the world, saying, what is it here for? What makes people happy or sad? Why is the world, how does the world come about? What's going on? And the better that those that are here with a message. Now remember, the world is created, there's a purpose. That purpose is articulated through the Torah, through God's plan. And God had a method to be able to help humans to be able to understand what we're here for. We know what the world is supposed to look like. And we start articulating that when scientists and people with the message come together and we communicate better. I was raised at the footsteps of the Lubavitcher Rabbi, studying in Chabad, incredibly analytical to every little nuance of what the Torah is teaching and the different messages and the underlying inspiration behind all these laws and everything. And now I'm here studying people that are analyzing research both in basic sciences and in biology and in psychology, psychiatry, and surgeries, whatever, all that stuff. I get to be able to see how the two are completely intertwined, and they're not two conversations. It's one conversation from two different angles.
So it's like different variations of that one ultimate objective truth that we're all trying to go for.
Yeah, and everyone is, we're the truth will be found everywhere. Wherever you go, anybody that looks and is humble and honest and analytical will see the truth. But sometimes, when truth is hidden, it takes a bit of a step back to be able to see it more clearly.
Could you provide like a concrete example of where they're intertwined, just to for us to ramify off of, kind of attach different branches to that concept you're describing?
I have to say in medicine, it just comes up constantly, but in tiny little things. I feel, probably the best example of where you see the science and religion kind of just on a bullet train that's directly parallel is, I use this sometimes when I discuss this concept. Imagine a scientist is trying to explain to everybody, where COVID came from, and he has this little lab, and he doesn't really speak the language, and everything, and he's not very articulate, but he's saying that it came from an ostrich egg. And everyone's like, wait, and he agrees it came, and it was not just a regular ostrich, it was a blue ostrich egg. And everyone's like, no, it's impossible. There's no, we know where it came from, and we know what kind of live animals are sold there, and we know that and there's no ostriches there, and ostriches don't make blue eggs. And then, science goes and they start, going and doing more forensic research, and finally, they get to patient zero after, go through all the DNA of every little, possibly everyone that was, had any disease, and they find a picture of these people, and I use the example of a blue ostrich egg to find the most ridiculous possible thing, and it was like, and imagine they like, oh my goodness, here are these billionaires celebrating a birthday party with an imported ostrich, and it has a blue ostrich egg, and that's patient zero. Like, if you would look at that, I mean, this person was not coming to this determination by forensic data or by traveling or by finding pictures. He was looking at his lab. He's looking at his, at the DNA that he was pulling apart, and he's looking at a computer. And if the two of them match, you're like, oh my goodness. So the example I'm giving is not as fantastic as a blue ostrich egg. It's much crazier. For thousands of years, Judaism said not that God created the world 5,783 years ago. Yes, that was the first moment of existence. That is a basic belief in Judaism. But that's not what Judaism says. Judaism says that God, the speaking into existence, is a constant, to the point that when you spell out the articulation of what that means, that the world is created every second. We actually use that in our prayers every day. So Jews around the world, every day we say, God, you recreate the world every second, which when it's translated every moment, the world is recreated. And we say God's name, we say this. Now imagine 200 years ago, you're looking at a house, you're looking at a rock, and you say, you know what, God created it now, and now God created it again. It is something that is so fantastic and so out of logic. It's almost like hard to say that in sane company. Mm-hmm. But today, science will tell you that if you took the energy out of the world currently, there will be nothing to sweep up. Every single iota, everything, every rock is now only there because there is a energy that's spinning, giving it its mass. If you punch a rock and you hurt your hand, it's because not yesterday there was a rock there, but because right now it's being created. So that concept, like as you study science and as you study the Torah, which by the way, that prayer that everyone says every day, and we say that in our prayers constantly, and we say God's name, we say that it's a blessing. It takes a lot of study to understand that what that means is that God is actually articulating creation every second. When we read Genesis, where it says God spoke the world into existence, it takes a lot of analysis to realize that that's not something that happened in history, but it's a constant. That's another verse which says that God's words are constantly in the heavens, meaning they're constantly creating. That takes a lot of study. So the studying of Judaism takes a lot of analysis. Studying science takes a lot of analysis. When you put them together, you're looking at the same thing.
I see. So like with that blue ostrich example, like I don't really understand. Like, how does that relate to how does that show the conglomerance of that?
The ostrich egg example was what I'm saying is like someone was saying something that made no sense. Everyone's like, that makes no sense. No, stop speaking like that. You're speaking gibberish. And then you found that to be true, you would say that this guy's science is actually amazing. If you imagine if you found that what he said that everyone was laughing at is true because of forensic study. So the same thing too. Judaism for thousands of years was saying the world is being created every second, and now Einstein said the world is being created every second. They came from different angles, but they discovered something, and the thing is that what they discovered was, I mean, to believe that the world is recreated, you need to have a lot of ideological faith.
So essentially even though science might be approaching from this direction and religion from this direction, at the end of the day they're angled to the same vertex.
They're simply said, science is studying the world. Religion is describing the world. They're describing the same thing. They're not, and when you study them properly, you will see the same thing. They'll both be the same thing. You asked me for an example, so it was somewhat of a colorful example, I guess.
Yeah, the blue one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.